Hi everyone, how are you doing? Today we're at in front of越谷train station. We have two beautiful women from the United States of America. Would you please introduce yourself? But first, you go first.
My name is Sarah and I'm from California, from San Francisco, California.
Sarah?
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Are you enjoying this festival?
I am.
Okay, very good. Is this the first time to come here to attend this festival?
It is. I've only been in Japan for 1 week now.
For 1 week?
I just got here.
So what do you do for a living now?
I am a student.
A student?
Going to summer school at
Summer school.
Temple University
Temple,
in Tokyo.
I know it's very famous in the middle of Tokyo, right?
Yeah,
it's in Azerbaijan?
Yes.
Azerbaijan. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And how about you?
Hi, my name is Sarah too. Sarah. And I'm from New York State, not the city, sorry. And I am 27 years old. Nice to meet you.
So do you teach English in Japan? Or?
Yes, I teach English.
How long have you been teaching English?
I've been teaching English for 1 year now.
1 year? Where do you teach? At school or privately?
I teach in public schools this year.
So you're ALT?
Yes, I'm an ALT.
Where do you teach? Junior high school?
I have 1 junior high school and 2 elementary schools.
Oh, really?
Yes.
How do they react when they listen to English for the first time? Because most of Japanese students are very afraid of making mistakes when they speak in English. So what do you think of that?
There's definitely a lot of fear to speak for the first time. Definitely. I think they are scared of making mistakes. But if you can find some way to excite your students, then they'll like repeating silly things you say or fun phrases. And games are a good way.
So you enjoy teaching them in English?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you very much. So we Japanese have studied English for about 6 years. The first 3 years in junior high, and after 3 years in senior high. But very few students can speak English because we study English only to pass the entrance examinations for colleges or high schools. So many foreigners ask me, why do Japanese people cannot speak English? Even though they studied English at least 6 years. What do you think of that?
I like to compare it to my time in junior high school and high school learning Spanish. I was required to take Spanish classes for 3 years and I never achieved a very high level.
So Spanish is difficult for you to learn?
There was never an opportunity for me to use it in my area. It really, I think we did have French foreign exchange students once. People from France came to visit, but nobody from Spain came to our school. So I think that kind of hurt my education a little. It would have helped having people to speak Spanish with on a regular basis.
Thanks. What about you?
I agree. I think when you don't have the opportunity to practice with native speakers, it's really difficult to learn the language. I studied Russian in high school, and I moved to Prague last year and was able to pick up Czech because I had basic Russian, but I could never speak any language where I wasn't living in the place I was speaking yet.
Luckily, my students, as I said before, I teach English to adults at the local community center every Saturday from 2 to 5. And he's also one of my students, and he's very hardworking. So my students are very eager to learn English, but most Japanese students, even junior high school students and high school students, are afraid of making mistakes because one single mistake in examination for entrance examination like senior high school or junior high school, you will fail. That's why most of the students are afraid of making mistakes. Even though teachers ask them, not be afraid of making mistakes. So it's a kind of contradiction in terms, don't you think so?
Do your tests have anything where they allow partial credit?
Yes.
Or like, so you can make one mistake and they'll only take off maybe half marks?
Right.
Like, they do have.
Yes, that's right. So, don't you feel that the students you teach English have the same idea?
That, like, they have to be perfect?
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be a little difficult.
And even Japanese teachers who teach English cannot speak well, don't you think so? Because one of my ALT who teaches junior high school in Sengendai, but he has gone to the America. And once he said to me, why Japanese teachers not good at speaking English and their pronunciation is horrible.
I've actually been having a pretty good experience at my junior high school, but I see a lot of that at my elementary schools. The teachers, they're not confident when it comes to English. They'll prefer to speak Japanese a lot in the class. And yeah, so, elementary school definitely.
Okay. What about you?
You've never really worked in a
classroom. Exactly, go ahead, please.
I do think, though, that in my experience with learning other languages, I don't speak Japanese, that the only way you learn is when you fail and you learn what you did wrong and you make the mistakes and then you know what not to do. I think it's really important in that sense, especially in English.
So, when you learn some foreign language, I think it's very important for people learning in other language. Practice makes perfect.
Yeah. And I think making mistakes makes you better. I do.
So, do you speak any Japanese?
Nope.
How about you? Do you speak any Japanese?
Yes, I do. I've studied Japanese for 4 years.
4 years? So, I guess you learned some Chinese characters, right?
I can write. I can write about 300.
Oh, 300? Yeah, that's great.
And I can recognize a few more than that, but yeah.
Yeah, Chinese characters are kind of difficult for Japanese because each Chinese character has its stroke order. We call it kakijun or hisujun. So we don't use kanjis or Chinese characters very often in daily life because we usually make sentences with the computer.
Oh, yes.
So I think it's kind of the reason why we are forgetting many Chinese characters now.
There's actually a problem. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I don't.
Well, do you use spell check a lot when you're writing documents? Yeah. Spell check is like an instant autocorrect for all of your English mistakes too. And I know a lot of teachers hated having like typed essays. They wanted you to handwrite it because the computer would just fix your mistakes and you wouldn't learn the proper spelling.
I heard some Americans say that they had a spelling contest when they're in elementary school, right? Yeah, I think it's the great way to remember spelling. Is it correct?
Yeah, it's pretty. It was fun for me. I really enjoyed those kind of contests. Did you?
I never did those contests. I'm not a very good speller.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been in a spelling bee, but they're pretty fun.
So, do you have any good ways to improve English for Japanese students?
That's a good question. Well, the way I study Japanese is I do the things that are interesting to me, except in Japanese. I love reading, so I look on the internet for websites or internet novels to read. That's what interests me and what will keep me motivated to keep studying.
That's great.
And I'd recommend finding whatever your interests are in English.
Recently, go ahead.